We are here today to announce that the Justice Department has secured felony guilty pleas from the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, Binance.
Actually, it's Binance.
Binance.
Binance. Largest virtual.
Binance.
Binance. And let me be clear. It's Binance.
Binance.
Binance. Council has discussed crypto regulations and legislations at length, and we have come to the conclusion that instead of regulating, we are going to ape a fat bag each into laptop and pump it to over $1,300,000,000,000,000,000,000,000 market cap. Let's fucking go, crackheads.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Crypto Morning Coffee. I got my coffee locked and loaded, ready to go, because we have to talk about how early we are this time. I think it's important to reassess our mindset, our view on crypto, since we are so long in the space, to actually see how big the chance still is in a regular Bitcoin investment, not only in altcoins, but in a regular Bitcoin DCA scheme. And I think that is important. We're also going to look at a couple of altcoins. We're going to look at the OMI and VEVE as always, and make sure to stay all the way through. So, good morning to each and every one of you. I see the Monday is exciting. The chat is in action. I think worldwide there is a public holiday coming up in the next couple of days, I think on Thursday. So, short week ahead of us, but nonetheless, a lot of things are happening at the moment, the good and the bad. And we are seeing right now that Bitcoin is coming up a little bit in the green here on the daily chart. We see it, a little bounce here again on this, I would say, long established support range at least. And that makes sense if you remember what we've been talking about in the last week of the global M2, right? But today I want to go a little bit more into us being early and what is still in front of us, and starting that out with a small green candle. That is really, really nice. So let's get right into it. And first of all, starting with this here. So they have, or here has been launched a study, a peer review study. And this study looks basically at Bitcoin supply suffocation, right? So this study predicts that Bitcoin could hit 1 million in dollar terms, right? And we are coming to why maybe we shouldn't even value in dollar terms in a second. But it looks at $1 million already by 2027, which is only 2 years from now, and would make me look like what? That should be, in a cycle theory, a bear market. But it also is basically predicting $5 million and beyond by 2031, as we see here. So 2 million by late 2027 and 5 million by 2031 is basically looking at the highest level of withdrawal. There's a clear trend from logic style adoption driven curve to one that starts to increase on a hyperbolic trajectory. And so on, right? So they are analyzing a supply and demand framework for Bitcoin price forecasting, and I think that's interesting because right now, as we see the first institutional adoption, this is probably where one or the other company will base their decisions on such supply and demand models. We had seen before some of the models failing, like stock to flow from Plan B. But that is certainly interesting. And The argument here is that Bitcoin's adoption is going to be at some point 100%, and that we are now somewhere at 3 to 4% right now, which would put us in total terms of user numbers probably, right? Which would put us somewhere at online banking at 1996, very, very early. Germany even had another currency back then. And as far as I can remember back, no one had online banking back then. Social media in 2005 and the internet in 1990, which was basically when modems still made sounds and most people didn't have a computer still to get on the internet. 1990 still feels, it feels very, very far away, right? So if that's true though, that means also that 100,000 Bitcoin is also only the beginning, and we can find some evidence in today's adoption, right? So let's put this. Let's see who really adopted Bitcoin and what's still there. So first of all, most people are right now using Bitcoin as an investment vehicle to get ahead of the monetary debasement, right? So they are measuring it in US dollars. They are using it as a more comfortable way than gold with higher returns. But many people still don't use the second layer function, which is Lightning and payment, right? So or payment through Lightning, let's put it that way. So many people still, even though that institutions offer it to get into Bitcoin, many people just don't use it yet, because I think it's also because they feel that there is way more to come in terms of price. And I think this is two stages of adoption. First, people will get along this very where the curve is not that steep into the investment side. And once they feel they have enough, and once there are enough credit cards that can pull directly out of your Bitcoin stack, then I think people will start paying directly from Bitcoin. But I think that will be somewhere mid-curve, right? When this is happening. And I think that is exactly what people are waiting for, until things are priced into Bitcoin that they want and they have enough Bitcoin left over. And this is where I think the price will accelerate again first, because now there's very little Bitcoin. People will fight over it, and we see it already. If we are looking at first this. So US investor allocation holding, right? You see here only the people that invest, right? There are a lot of people outside of the circle that don't own any real estate, bonds, stocks, or Bitcoin, right? But in terms of investors, the allocation still looks like this. Also goes along with the famous 1% portfolio allocation that I think BlackRock was it, or was it maybe was it one of the other investment giants recommended to investors, right? We will go beyond that at some point, but we see that this current price action is with US, one of the most significant markets, sticking with you about 1% Bitcoin allocation, and the rest of the money is still in stocks, in bonds, and in real estate. And bonds is really a destructive vehicle, right? So what I meant though before is that if we are looking at the Bitcoin exchange reserve, this is one of the first times in history that we see the exchange reserve at such a level in the bull market still plummeting, falling like a rock, right? And that is because if you see now, or if we put names behind the adoption on Bitcoin, we do have MicroStrategy owning up to 3% of all Bitcoin. We do have GameStop investing some part in Bitcoin or buying Bitcoin into their balance sheet. We have MetaPlanet, and we have some other countries that have a couple of thousand Bitcoin countries and institutions. And then we have countries like Yemen, sorry, not Yemen, Bhutan, El Salvador, and a couple of other countries, including the US, sitting on 200,000 Bitcoin. But it's still not much, right? If you say, okay, adoption goes all the way, which means in 10 or 20 or 30 years, every company will own some Bitcoin. And you would say that right now we have, let's say, a couple of million Bitcoin holders in the world. Maybe 100, 200 million, I don't know the exact figure. Then you would say, okay, but to 8 billion over the time, the more it's established, the more people will say, yeah, okay, you know what, let's put $100 in there. Let's also include in our thoughts the decline of or the different levels of income. So there are countries that cannot put $100, the most of the population not put $100 into Bitcoin. But let's say on average around the world, of the people that are not in Bitcoin yet, people can put $50 into Bitcoin, right? $50 on average, right? Much more in Canada and in the US and in Central Europe and in New Zealand and in Australia, much more, but way less maybe in many African countries, in India, in Pakistan, in I don't know where, right? Okay, so, but still, if you would calculate 8 billion times 50 and then that repeatedly, that's a lot of billions, let's put it that way, to come into Bitcoin on a frequent level. So I'm not saying one time $50, but with certain frequency, right? Also including inflation. What's underlying this, and I'm coming to you in the chat in a second, right? But I want to spin this thought first, right? So what's beyond or behind all this, and why people will hodl, especially individuals will hodl? Maybe we will see more sell-off in a crisis environment from Wall Street through BlackRock ETFs, but individuals over the long, I think they have learned faster to hodl. Is that everything gets priced in Bitcoin differently, and you will get a different view on these things if there was a BTC price tag, right? So had you used BTC in 2010 to buy a BMW, you would have spent 178,000 BTC, which would be roughly today the strategic reserve of the US. If you have to imagine that, had the US spent their BTC on a BMW in 2010, it would have depleted the strategic reserve, right? Now they can buy for all their state employees a BMW with it, right? Soon a BMW will be less, or this model of BMW, right, will be less. You can get a BMW with less than a Bitcoin already. Let's put it that way, right? But I think the message is clear here, right? So everything gets priced in BTC differently. And also if you put the price of a house, let's say it's 450,000 to build a house. Maybe it's 550,000, whatever. You would have a 5.5 BTC right now, okay? The tendency in dollar terms, maybe building a house 10 years ago was more like 300,000, not 550,000, right? Whatever, right? Fictitious numbers. You have, everyone around the world has their own reality, but the fact is things are going up against the dollar, or in dollar terms, whereas in Bitcoin terms, where you have a radical basically things are coming to you while you are holding your Bitcoin, right? So let's say you are a holdcoiner, yeah. It's not, you don't have to wait that much longer until that thing comes to you. But then again, would you just spend your one Bitcoin on a car? You would not, and I think that is why the hodling will continue until a certain point where people are starting to say, okay, it came into my direction that much now that I can comfortably start spending just with this credit card from Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is performing that well that I am continuously living off of my Bitcoin stack, just spending sats and living my life, right? I think that's what it is. And I think in that curve, this will start later, but you have somewhere more to the end of this, or to the end of the steep incline in this curve, when many people have that, right? Doing business in sats, getting sats, but also spending sats, right? And price of things is coming down, right? This discussion is something for probably a multiple hour stream, but I think it's important to get this back into our mind. And reading this chat here on the side, pretty funny. But just as a last point here for that, and then maybe we can discuss this a little bit more. This is the US debt clock, and this stands, I'm not shitting on the US here, it just stands representative for many countries that are indebted in this way. Japan is even worse, right? So they have included the Doge clock also. Savings per taxpayer $4,630, but still it doesn't matter. It's a drop in the bucket. It's now what is that, like 520 billion, right? That's 100 million. Yeah, 520 billion, so half a trillion saved. That's nice. But still, we see that national debt is not too far away from 37 trillion anyways. It's rapidly increasing. We do see the tax revenue on the other side. Where I'm going with this is, this needs to get financed no matter what, right? And it's rapidly increasing. So and there's only one way to finance this, and that is by printing more money and injecting that. But that's also why it takes so long, the cycle, because they can't do this anymore, because they would skyrocket inflation. Okay, so they have to wait the longest possible to do this. And I think it's even a theater play right now for the US population and for the world population, where Jerome Powell doesn't lower the interest rate, but Trump is demanding lowering the interest rate, and they are waiting this out by everyone keeping their face, basically, right? So in my opinion, that's exactly how they want it. At some point, they will start slowly injecting money, but they are dragging this out. And this is why the cycle takes so long, in my opinion. They are dragging this out to have a shot at inflation not going parabolic, right? But this has to be put back on the shoulders of all citizens and countries that are holding US dollar. This has to be refinanced in such a way that it doesn't break the US, but rather that it puts that weight on the shoulder of the citizen in terms of the invisible tax, which is inflation, right? In every country, not only in the US, but in every country, right? So for example, if you see an economic stimulus package and you see the crowd is cheering for it, like you see it in Germany, right? Oh yeah, 80 billion for this and that, right? Let's do it. Yeah, well, it's either coming from the taxpayer through tax increase, and the rest is coming through the invisible tax on the prices. Okay, so it doesn't matter. But if that fiat is instantly converted into Bitcoin, then you're exempted from the invisible tax. You're still getting taxed by your country, but you're exempted from the invisible tax, because then the one bill that they print extra, you get that on top in your Bitcoin holding. So if you're in Bitcoin and everyone else is not, everyone else gets poorer, just like the BMW costs less, while you're getting ahead of the curve, right? So that is why this is very, very important to be early in this game and to also hold Bitcoin, not only altcoins, in my opinion. Very, very important to do this math, and there is more to this component, right? If you take the global national debt, hundreds of trillions of debt, and you convert this over time into the market cap of Bitcoin and other hard assets, then you get funky prices, let's say, right? So let's get a little bit to the chat. I know this was longer, but I also want to thank the rare hodlers here for always supporting me. Thank you for that. Chat is blocking some rare hodlers. I want to give you all the present. Thank you very much for supporting me all the time. I see a lot of you guys, a lot of you rare hodlers are here. Mewtwo is here. Adam is here. Trucking Hank is here. Good to see you guys. Troy Paris is here. Bodo is here. So a lot of rare hodlers in the house. May I ask you to smash up the like button if you enjoy these streams, trying to bring different topics, but somehow it's the same topic, right, to you, but also discussing some things to rearrange perspective, because in times where people are still bearish on Bitcoin, but we could see way more out of Bitcoin. So so let's see what else is in the chat here. I saw you guys were talking in the beginning about Spaceballs. So Mewtwo had said crypto in 2025 is like internet in 96, is like television in 48, is like radio in 1920, is like electricity in 1880, is like railroads in 1830, is Tulip Mania in 1637. I disagree on the last part, because Tulip Mania collapsed in a huge bubble, whereas the other ones did not. But oh hey Felipe also. Felipe, what is going on? Good to see you, man. Smashed it, thank you very much. So we see that. But I agree with the rest. People doubting it. People also not seeing in the beginning of the curve how little the adoption yet is, right? Private info says, I want more time, but I also want the moonshot curve. It is Schrödinger's crypto. That's a very, very funny comparison. Going to Schrödinger's cat. Strategy is going to be insanely rich when mass adoption happens. Yeah, but and this is the thing, we have all this, it's already secure, right? We already know all of this, right? We already know all of this. We do know what strategy is doing. We are at 106k, which looks much, but will not look much in the end in a couple of years. We know all of this. So the question is, why do we still not have a DCA plan for continuously adding sats and front running all the companies and institutions that are not in it yet, right? So I think that a lot of people in the world are about to fumble this opportunity of owning just maybe 0.1 of a Bitcoin, which would be $10,000 right now. I think that will be enough over the long run. I think in the next cycle, in the next bull run, maybe after this bull run, maybe not after this, because in a bear market still, if we go back to this price, it's still possible. But I think in not too long, 0.1 Bitcoin will be looked at as one coin, like a whole coin, is being looked at right now. I do think that. So the question is, why don't we get to these things right now, right? I mean, we can have altcoins and so on, but I think Bitcoin needs to be there in everyone's portfolio as a secure way, like securing the future, right? Securing the future. I think it's not. I think 0.1 Bitcoin is enough for securing that future. It takes a little bit longer. If you're a whole coiner now, I mean, you already see it. You have $106,000 in the wallet, right? Compared, but you have a future potential for way more, right? Way more. So because you basically have a mathematical function to be exempt from that ever increasing invisible inflation tax, and you have a right to a share through that basically on all the world debt. Plus, if you are now versus in a couple of years, you have a right to the valuation of this asset before, so you get it before everyone else gets into it, right? So the valuation through adoption of individuals, institutions, pension funds, and so on, so half institution plus countries, the factoring of energy into the network, we can't forget that, right? There will be schemes like we did already see from German Telecom, where you divert excess energy into Bitcoin mining, and then you could technically use these Satoshis to buy energy once you are in a lag, right? So things like that we don't have factored in the payment method on the Lightning layer. We don't have factored in other things that might be built on Bitcoin or where Bitcoin is used, right? So yeah, I think good, like very good things are coming for Bitcoin. Let's look at power of law quickly, and then we go to the altcoins, because I know you guys will not tolerate me rambling about Bitcoin all day long. So we will save some minutes also for the rest of the market, right? But right now, we are exactly at the linear regression fit and have that as overhead resistance. And we had that as overhead resistance 3 times already, when we were at 74,000, when we were at 95, 96,000, 100K, and now we have it as overhead resistance at 113 to 115K. So that would, even if we only go to that linear regression band, that would be our fit, okay? So that is crazy. But we see that last cycle we didn't reach it, but we massively overshot it. But look at this here. We did reach the upper band. Here we overshot the upper band. What if we would reach the upper band today? Well, that would put us at 444,000 per coin, the upper band. So if we have a regular bull market expansion like always, we would come close to 400,000. Even if we take a couple of months more and we only stay at the logarithmic regression band, we would reach our own conservative target of this channel of 130,000. We would not even breach the logarithmic, the linear regression fit, right? If it takes us a couple of months, the upper band goes to 500,000, right? Until the end of, until 2026, so end of this year. The linear regression fit would be 140,000. Bitcoin at its maximum expansion in such a cycle would be at 500,000, and the bear market bottom band would move up to 50,000 roughly. Okay. Over the time, we see that, let's say we have a bear market bottom at 2027 already, it would be at 70K. Okay. So maybe at 2028, if that would be a bear market bottom, we are at 94,000. So that's why you could argue that, hey, why would I buy now if that's still 70, 80, 90,000 is possible, right? And I would say, well, not too bad if you can actually, if you have the guts to stack fiat for 90,000 for 2 to 3 years straight, and then allocate it all when Bitcoin is oversold again. Can you do that, right? That's the question. Can you do that? Can you wait until here and then stack as much fiat as possible and buy at 95,000, given that we actually reached this band like we did here? We did not. We almost reached it here. We did not reach it here. We did reach it here. So it's a possibility, right? Fast forward on this chart to 2030. The bear market bottoms are at 180,000. The bull market extensions would be at 1.5 million, roughly. Fast forward 2040 or 2039. Bear market bottoms at 1.5 million. The regression fit at roughly 4 million per coin. And you can see that. Still moving out here. Absolutely zooming out here to 2039. 1.5 million bottom. 4 million regression fit. And 9 million upper band. Okay, that is in line. Power Floor model is in line with ARK Invest, strategy, and so on predictions, okay? But let's see. I still think that we could be seeing a massive run up to 200,000 or so, or 250,000 or something in the direction here, fairly soon, right? We don't know. It can happen, and maybe it will happen. Maybe this cycle takes longer because of the M2 front run, okay? So that is it, right? I hope we get a lower price than 95,000 in the next bear market. It depends on how fast the collapse is, in my opinion, and how high we go in this cycle. Because if we go to 450,000, it will be difficult, very difficult to go much lower than that, in my opinion. But yeah, what goes up must come down, and I think we're not done yet with the going up. I do not think we are done yet. I think there is still a massive expansion coming for the rest of this year, and I think the next leg up the next leg up has already started. Despite all turmoil, we are currently moving up, right? We see it right now. The daily candle we are approaching 107,000 as we speak. Hey Domvu, good to see you. Hope all of you had a great weekend. Thank you very much. We did, or I did. I hope you guys too. Guys, smash up the like button if you enjoy this. And I hope you are a little bit bullish on Bitcoin looking at this stuff. And I hope you have at least a couple of sats in your portfolio. Yeah, maybe also like this. If you're looking at this prediction in 2039, which is 14 years out, right? Which is 9 million upper band or 4 million linear fit. 0.1 Bitcoin would be still 400 or 900K, depending on where you are in that cycle, right? That's not too shabby, right? Considering that you buy this currently with $10,000, that's not too bad. Yeah, will Power Floor break to the upside at some point? I don't know. Right now it seems to be very accurate, so we will see. But for sure, theoretically, you could just invalidate that by the whole world massively money printing and creating a hyperinflation. Then obviously these models are also gone, right? Then you would have a curve out of that, break the upside, and that's it, right? So these models are valid until they aren't, right? But it's a good projection on the current monetary policy. That's the projection. Let's look at the market. We do have some move in the altcoins. Okay, we have the charge led by Jito 14.2%. We have Aero up 5.7%, WIF 6%, Bonk 5%, MakerDAO is up 6.7%, Sui, Near, and so on, a nice 1 to 2%, nothing that much. Floki 3%, Render 4%, good to see. Link 3.3, overall not that much upside, but a little bit out of the altcoins. VeChain 2% roughly. Overall, the altcoin market is up 2%, I would say roughly, as the top 300 is about 2%, and the rest of the market as well, except this bracket. There must be one coin that has a massive dump. Exactly. Polyhedra Network has an 80% collapse. I don't know what happened, but they are down much. What the heck? I don't know what they do. I don't have this coin, but okay. Well, that looks like a rug pull to me. I don't know this coin, but that looks bad, I would say. Yeah, that looks really, really bad. So ZKJ USDT, Polyhedra Network, whatever that is, I think it got rocked, or something happened, like with OM, well, but okay, but probably none of you have this coin. Can you imagine explaining to your grandkids how you got rich off of Fartcoin? No. And I also don't have any Fartcoin, so I don't have to do it that way, but it would be very funny, yeah. Or when you have to explain what Mudang is or was, or how you invested in coins with the dog image. But it will be funny enough to explain how you bought digital collectibles, and you were part of a community that got together in different parts of the world to show to each other mint numbers on golden C3POs. And they had a cult around the coin that it was called a OMI. Stuff like that, Speaking of which, Ecomi is moving up nicely here, just a little bit, right? We are just not out of the woods, obviously, but we have some greens here, some green-ish candles here on the daily. Ecomi is up from the absolute lows right now, a nice 20%. We will see how this develops, but with the announcements of Coinbase DEX trading and so on, we might get some traction here on the OMI token. So that is, we might get some good traction volume. Maybe whales that make their move, right? Maybe whales that make their move on a DEX. Why not? So maybe we can add here that we do have in the halves DEX on base. So we do have OMI on base, right? We had that before. DEX on base soon. DEX trading on base. That's good, right? So there's still, which would be a DEX on the US. We're still not US exchange, but the DEX change. Web3 approach, influencers, OMI and VEVE, solve the app issues. Most important things, in my opinion. Get the app ready for more people, and then put OMI as the centerpiece of your narrative, and then get people from OMI into the app. Profit, win everywhere, right? Duck and cover, what is going on? Long time no see. VEVE baby, I'm here listening, just building in the VEVEverse at the same time. Wow, that's nice. Actually, that's really cool. Yeah. I hope you're having a good time there. Yeah, what else? I promised to look at some altcoins on my thumbnail, so I have to do it. Solana looking very strong. We have a massive accumulation for Solana. I think that Solana is going to at some point approach its all-time high at 264 and breach it. Go beyond it. I see the worst case scenario for the price for Solana at roughly 120 to 100. Like this support plus this upward sloping trend line that I would see. Plus we're going to look at ETH USDT as well. Here we are still, and this is why I have this line, and this trend line acts as a resistance at the moment. ETH is upward sloping right now. I think that ETH will at some point approach this upper band and then completely blast off. I do think people are way too bearish on ETH, to be honest, because ETH is still favored by institutions, exchanges, and so on. Like there, many people are going to get wrecked, or not wrecked, but they will be making like big eyes on ETH, right? I think ETH is going to explode hard and lead the altcoin season into altcoin season territory level. Let's look at quickly ETH BTC, because this is important. You will see why, because of this, right? So we had a massive, this is back in the day, I showed you this from time to time. We do have a massive support at this level, okay? We bounced off of it, and we are, this is where currently ETH is outperforming BTC in the short term, and this is usually how alt season starts, right? So we have a 40% outperformance here. It does not have to put in all-time highs against BTC. It just has to continuously outperform BTC, like in this way, right? This leads to an alt season, and then it will collapse again, the entire bear market against BTC plus the beginning of the bull market, right? So Sol, let's see, Solana BTC, do we have that? Yes, we should be having that. Solana against BTC, we do see that Solana was outperforming BTC, took a breather, but I think also here, finding some base and then continuing, Solana should be outperforming BTC once ETH does, and then this is the start where the alts are outperforming BTC, right? We had that in the beginning of the bull run, then sideways. Now BTC is outperforming again. This is the overlap phase in the money flow. You remember the money flow of the cycles. This is when ETH is starting to outperform BTC, and the both are getting back and forth, right? So this could be going with Solana in the same way. We will see, we are also seeing a SUI, maybe there is a SUI BTC that we can look at. So here, for example, for SUI, you see like SUI is outperforming BTC, and then it's not, and then it is, and now it's not, right? ABC correction maybe, and then bam, at some point, SUI also will be starting to outperform BTC, which is then the phase where the large caps are outperforming BTC. It will happen, I think. Guys, you heard it here many times. I said the altcoin season, it will happen. It will happen. In my opinion, it will happen. It will be really great. Everyone thinks it will not happen, or many people think it will not happen. That's when everyone will be caught off guard once again. People are degenerate gamblers. It will happen again. Smash up the like button. On that note, I know that we did a very short part of the altcoins, but still, be subscribed to the channel, notifications on, smash up the like button if you enjoy what I am doing here. Also consider supporting me by becoming a rare hodler. Everyone who is already supporting me in that way, thank you very much for doing so. I really appreciate it, helps me a lot. And yeah, let's keep a close eye on this. I think this second half of the year that is coming, or that is starting very, very soon, is going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. We will all make a shitload of money, but also keep us on safe side and be somewhat exposed to BTC. Anyways, guys, wherever you are on the world, have yourselves great morning, evening, day, night, or afternoon, and I catch you in the next video or live stream. Bye.